up my privacy and record what? You're already recording what? Shuru, starting
Now,
say.
no, यार मैं actually ना भूल जाती हूँ. मैंने एक recording करा and then I forgot to record it and then well, not
Ah, okay. कैसा है? How are
basically.
things?
I am good. How are you? Thank you so much for coming again to the podcast.
Thank you. एक मिनट
And
ना
I have
मेरा
to like,
ये क्या
हाँ.
है इधर? 1 second.
So you know what? I'm so glad that you are a part of my podcast once again. I specifically wanted you to be there because I am in awe of not just what you do on LinkedIn, but what you do on WhatsApp, what you do on Instagram. Like every channel you you showcase this part of your personality, which is a very real, and two, you are so modest coming from the, I've met people who've been in the industry for so long, and they come with this know it all attitude, and while you automatically know that they know a lot more than you do, but when
Correct.
when I speak to you, when I see you, talking to others, juniors, seniors, everyone in between, you um you come with this modesty, and you come with this mindset that I'm also learning from you,
Right.
and all the while you are teaching them as well, copy workshops,
Yeah.
how you've been mentoring these newbies in the industry, and how you're not just helping them learn what copy writing is, but also giving them an overview of what the industry feels like, and,
Right.
and and not the industry that they would be scared of, because I feel that when I started in the industry, I would have, had I met someone like you, a mentor like you, it would have been a very different journey for me, in
Hmm.
the sense of, it's not so overwhelming if you're
Correct.
aware of what lies ahead. I have been taking a break from the podcast, but I've
Hmm.
been, I wanted to kind of resume it. I've been speaking to a couple of people, taking some podcasts, but I wanted you to be a part of it specifically for this month because advertising to you, three, I just wanted to know what's your journey like. You've spoken to a lot of people, helped them in their journey, and I wanted
Hmm.
to know what's your journey like. So
Yeah.
welcome to the podcast, Shantesh.
Thank you,
Shantesh,
Sundar.
right? I keep calling
Shanti,
you
Shanti,
Shantesh.
Shanti बोलो
Shantesh is
यार.
fine, right? Shantesh is too
Ah,
mouthful.
everything is a
Shantesh.
mouthful. Shanti, simple. Keep it by. What is that? Snackable. Yeah, the word
Snackable
that is
content.
snackable
Snackable,
content.
yes, snackable content it
Shanti is
is.
fine. Yeah.
Shanty is fine. What does Shantesh mean though? Shanty?
So oddly enough, I'm not religious. I'm agnostic, but we have this family deity called
Okay.
Shantadurga in Goa, and right next to Shantadurga is the Mangeshi temple, right? So our family follows both the god and the goddess as our deities, our family deities. So my name is an amalgamation of Shantadurga and Mangeshi. So it's the Shant and the ESH comes from Mangeshi. So that's how it is Shantesh. So I'll return the compliment to you by saying that you've been a forthright advocate of mental health for a long time. In fact, I think I remember first connecting with you on LinkedIn in one of your posts based on the same thing. And oddly
Yes.
enough, today you put a very interesting post on the detractors, which I read
Yes, I
in
did.
the
I
morning.
did.
Yeah, and I quite
I did.
resonated with that. I've not had the chance time to comment on it, but I will. But yeah, about my journey. See, I think my journey started really honestly. I was born in a place in Bombay called Shivaji Park,
Okay.
which was like the hub of culture in Bombay. It's
Hmm.
it it's always been a very middle class locality. Not anymore today. Today it's been dominated by these swish big buildings. But Shivaji Park was always a hub of culture. So cricket was one of the biggest cultures in Shivaji Park. Cricket was the lifeblood. Called the cradle of Indian cricket. So all the top cricketers have come from there. And it's been a hotbed for artists, for journalists, for writers, for creative people, for musicians, for painters, for authors. So my childhood was surrounded by all these influences. So you would see theater personalities, actors sitting on the bench and having a smoke or discussing things, and it was very normal to bump into a cricketer like Gavaskar or Vengsarkar or even Tendulkar later, right? So it was a very normal upbringing, and I think I was brought up in a family where it was full of bankers. My dad, mom, sister, cousins, uncles, pretty much everyone was a Shamrao Vittal cooperative type of
Hmm.
person. Okay, but I was the only black sheep in the family. So, but kya hua, when I lost my dad at 12, I suddenly overnight forgot about being a child and was thrust into becoming an accelerated teenager. So I decided very early that yaar, family ki situation अच्छी नहीं थी at that time. My mom was working, but she was under a lot of stress because dad had passed away suddenly. My sister was still in college. I was just in school at that time. So I woke up one day and I said, listen, I'll do something different यार, मेरे को भी थोड़ा पैसा कमाना है. Not like the 6-figure incomes today that we talk about, but genuinely to help my mom with some help. So I was good at scholastics, so I ended up doing a lot of tuitions. Tuitions was the only way that time to get a little bit of appended income. And I used to actually go and work for someone who was related to me. So I would spend my day in school and then go and work with someone. And I think what I realized very early now that bolte na University of Hard Knocks. That is the best teacher. So that really taught
Yes.
that those hard knocks from the time I was 12 to maybe about 18, those 6 years really taught me. And I think but I think that reality that hit me in the face very early, it rooted me and grounded me very quickly. So that's why I've been a very, very cool person throughout my life. I have not that I don't take stress, not that stress doesn't get to me. Of course, you're human at the end of the day, but I am always positive in the sense that I say, let's have fun here. Let's not get itna bhi kya marna hai yaar, advertising hai na. So even
Absolutely.
yeah, so when I joined advertising, I joined with that goal in mind, saying that I'm entering a cool profession. It's supposedly cool profession, though people think it's super glam and all. It's not. We know the reality once we enter
Right.
agencies. But I did not want to ever enter a toxic environment and make it more toxic. Let me put it that. I knew that there were certain toxic environments, but
Right.
least you can do is be good yourself or be happy yourself, right? Then it
Absolutely.
maybe then there is a ripple effect or a halo effect that goes around. But my real grounding in advertising was in my third agency, which is called Network. It was in Bombay, and I think Network was a fabulous agency. If I were to think of any, even today, even after 25 years, they are still one of the best places in India to work in an agency simply because of the culture they had. It was a very people first culture, zero politics, very healthy environment to work in, and real respect for time, for people's lives, and for the fact that they needed to make an environment that not just helped creative and servicing and all the other elements of the agency, but genuinely helped you grow as a person. So, they were so good that they would fund any kind of course that you want to do, even if it is not related to advertising. I
Wow.
walked into my CEO's office one day and said, there's a script writing course. It has no relation to what I'm doing here, but I just want to learn it. It's a 3-month course. It's going to cost 25K. And he, without batting an eyelid, said, go to accounts, take your check, make the payment. So
Wow.
yeah, and this is not just me. They would do it for everyone. Whether you wanted to do pottery, whether you wanted to do art, photography, it has no relation to what you're doing at your work. But they would make sure that you got that element in your life. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that really grounded me, and that those 5 years that I spent with Network really, I wasn't exposed to that big agency toxic syndrome जो होता है कभी-कभी. This was a small, medium-sized agency which was very healthy in the way it approached. So I think the roots came from there, and then since then I've always carried that sort of philosophy with me wherever I've. Even when I came to Dubai, I've 18 years in Dubai. I've luckily not had a situation where the agency itself has been so toxic that it's caused me, physical, mental, whatever, psychological issues. And wherever I've gone, I've tried to spread that little bit of joy and happiness.
So there's this, Shanti, that people talk about how when you see certain leaders in the industry, and you obviously try to become them,
Correct.
and I think that is why the circle of this toxicity sort of continues in a lot more ways, because
Correct.
even when I started out, I was told that you have to be assertive, you have to be mean, you have to speak in a certain way, otherwise they will not listen to you, otherwise they will not come across as a great leader.
Right.
And when I see you talking to people, you respond to every single person on your post, and
Yeah.
you respond with so much genuine efforts. It doesn't seem like it's a, it's a template that you're responding with. And for someone like you, who's already loved by so many people, who's already, there, you've made it there. You're not struggling, you're not starting off. What makes you think that, what's that one thing that kind of keeps you going, in the sense of, uh, you know I have to talk to this person like how this person is, and not with
Yeah.
titles. You know what I mean, right? We were
Yeah. Yeah.
told to talk to people with titles. Okay,
Correct.
this person is higher in hierarchy, then I'll talk to him in a certain way, or stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah.
See, again, I mean, to each his own, right? I mean, nobody is going to change a personality, because I think personality is inbuilt within you.
Hmm.
If you are going to be a person who is always cracking the whip and are a little bit standoffish in one sense,
Hmm.
then that's you. And you can't expect everyone to be cut from the same cloth, or it's not a cookie cutter. And advertising as a profession is very egocentric, right? Because
Absolutely.
and somehow it has to be, because a
Hmm.
lot of what the personality brings to the table sells the work.
Hmm.
So 50% of the work is the work itself, and then the balance 50% is literally who's walking in the room and how is he or she carrying himself or herself at that room, right?
Hmm.
So certain, we've created certain demigods or demigoddesses who have, you know, sort of got that legendary value to them, and not all of them have been great people, but then they're there for a reason, right? They're there because clients accept them, believe them, resonate with them. They don't know what happens in the outer world outside of. It's a very transactional thing at the end of the day, advertising, right?
Hmm. Yes.
It is a lot of make believe,
Hmm.
and let me put it very straightforward to everyone listening to this, that advertising is not some glamour. There's no real glamour in it. It's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of bullshitting as well.
Yeah.
And we know that how much at times, we are so short of time that we are pulling rabbits out of the hat most occasions, and these
Agree.
rabbits are crazy rabbits.
Yeah.
Client को बहुत चूना लगाते हैं public. It's not that we are saying.
Tapping is
हाँ हाँ, half of
such
it
a
is,
word there.
yeah, half of it is
There is
spitballing, yeah.
tapping. Yeah, absolutely.
Complete spitballing.
Absolutely.
I have been for so many meetings, and I'm being very honest here, that I have not had an idea with 3 days to go for the meeting. I have walked into the meeting in a lift, had a smoke, and gone into a lift and cracked an idea as I'm going up, thinking that, okay, fuck, I have to put something on the table, man. And
Right.
when I go there and I have that kernel of an idea, I bullshit it so much that they actually buy. It's happened on times,
Yeah. Wow.
right? But
Yes.
coming back to why I'm like this, or versus why I want to literally give everyone. I really do talk to everyone. I
Yeah.
mean, I
Yes.
do answer all my DMs. I do try and make all the comments possible on posts, my posts, other posts, whatever. And the reason I'm doing this is not because I mean, it's not for followers. I mean, followers are easily got here. That's not the question at all.
Mm.
I think I've been mentored well. I've had the privilege of having 2 or 3 very key mentors in my life who were very brilliant people. They may not have been the best creatives, honestly. They were not the big gudge creatives, as we put it, but they were fabulous human beings. And I think the grounding there for me and people who worked along with me, even the people who worked along me, are very similar. So my
Mm.
ex-colleagues from a couple of agencies, we've come from the same sort of river, right? We have flown down that same river. But I've always believed that it takes you less time to be nice than it takes you to be nasty.
Absolutely.
It honestly takes you no time to be nice. And
Mm.
I have, because I've gotten a lot of help in my life. I know how many times I've been down in the trough when people who I've known, people who have not known, by fortune, by whatever, by destiny, uh, someone comes to give you a lifeline, right?
Mm. Yes.
And
True.
it's my job now, and I'm going to be 48 this year. I've lived a very full advertising life, maybe not huge in terms of awards or whatever, but my clients know what I've done. My reputation
Absolutely.
for work is impeccable, and I've always sold work. So
Mm.
and I've always ensured the outcome of that work is good for clients, right? So
Mm.
it's been more effective than creative. Let me put it this way.
Mm.
But in that journey, today I've come to a realization that we don't give back to the industry.
Mm.
We only give back to the industry if we're paid for it. And
Absolutely.
though, of course, I mean, I'm putting my hand on my heart and saying that even now I'm doing a paid workshop now because it's a lot of effort,
Yeah.
but it's not stopped me from doing so many free workshops, giving so much
Absolutely.
advice to everyone, because that is the way I think we need to be.
Mm.
What's the point of having all this knowledge and not giving some part of it away.
Mm.
Number one, and number two, the more I use the word. It's a very dispiriting thing for me that after I've been active on LinkedIn from last year, I realized the level of confusion that is out there in for writers. There
Yeah.
is just way too much noise and way too much faff. And honestly, if I was in coming into advertising today at 22, 23, 24, I would be appalled or completely confused at what is happening, because there's lies, there's dishonesty, there is a lot of grandstanding, there's a lot of nonsense out there, and then there's no real agency. People who have done workshops with me right now, I can see the level of frustration they're at. They're
Mm.
talented, but they don't have the environment, they don't have the
Absolutely.
advice, they don't have the mentorship. The mentors are there, but they don't have the time.
Mm.
So there's a hell of a lot of things that are going wrong, and that's the reason advertising as an industry is losing out.
Yes.
It already lost out to the kind of commissions we used to make 20 years back. Then we started losing out to content platforms,
Platforms.
like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
today we're losing the most important thing, which is people.
People. Yeah. So true.
Eventually, people make the industry. If you had good people, you would fight against a Facebook, you would be able to do something against
So
any
true.
of these things, right? But you lose people, then there goes the industry. So I think that's where my focus is, in my own small way, if I can give back some piece of advice, or even a helpful ear to somebody,
That's lovely.
maybe that person, that individual will look at advertising more favorably and may not be lost.
That's so true, Shanti. And I also feel when you said that, people are so confused. Um, Copywriting as a word in itself has become this hot selling cake for some reason.
Yeah,
And people think that every kind of or any kind of writing is copywriting,
yeah,
and I think that's also diluting the meaning of it and the emotion it holds in the industry itself. And I think
right.
when I also started off, I met so many mentors who were who were so passionate. So
Right.
when I also joined, I didn't know, I just got into it, and I realized that, oh my god, is one of the industries which is led by passion. And you come here, when you sit up, मतलब the energy in the room is so high when you're thinking of ideas, all of you
Correct.
coming together, all of that. And also, I think that's why we also get, stuck in this rut, because while we are enjoying the process, we don't know when to stop.
Correct.
There's no line. Nobody tells us that this is where you have to stop. And, coming back at 5 in the morning every day, and one day I wake up with like PCOD, and I realize that
Right.
it impacts a lot of other things. It's not just
Yeah,
one
yeah.
part of the lifestyle, right?
True.
It impacts your moods, it impacts your relationships, it impacts your mental,
Correct.
a lot of things. So,
Correct.
and you've been in this industry for so long. So I last year, we discussed earlier, I left agency life per se, and
Right.
I'm doing the same work, but I'm doing it more independently. I'm avoiding the whole culture that comes with advertising. Do I miss it? Yes, I really do miss it, because
Yeah.
it becomes such an integral part of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You love doing it. It's a love hate relationship, that you have to be very honest.
Correct.
So have you ever thought that, I'm sure you've been in the industry for so long, that you've had good days and you've had bad days and all of that, and you wanted to leave? Have you ever felt like, this is it, I can't take this anymore?
Right. Put in perspective, I think you got to look at a journey in terms of your age.
Right.
I really think the context of what you're going through is important. So
Hmm.
when I joined advertising, I was about 23, 24, and I really had that exuberance of youth in me, and that feel that, okay, yaar, abhi kuch karna hai, yaar, kuch bhi de mere ko, main karunga types, right?
Right. Right.
So I didn't mind the late nights, I didn't mind the hard work, and we were parting as hard as we worked, right? So
Yes.
though we had that literally almost a 24-hour cycle at times, I think the sort of energy and the uh, josh of that time carried you through. You didn't realize, I mean, in hindsight, you realize, okay, how much it affects you physically, mentally, etc. All the substance abuse and the alcohol and the late
Yeah.
nights and the lack
Yeah.
of sleep and all that. You're young, you're going in your own mast mola zindagi. But I've never honestly in so many years thought of quitting the field, again, because I have probably been lucky in the choice of agencies I've made and the kind of work that I've chosen. I have not been, like I said, in a super toxic environment. Of course, there have been levels of pressure and politics and stuff like that. And I've worked very hard. It's not that I've not done my miles or 10,000 hours or whatever that Malcolm Gladwell tells you to do. But I have always kept myself positive. So I realized very quickly that this is not a job that you should kill yourself about. The moment you feel that X is affecting you, whether it is work, clients, relationships within office, or the fact that office is not giving you enough, or work is not giving you enough time to focus on your personal life, and I've seen a lot of my colleagues doing that, they've taken that call to move on. Uh, I didn't move on simply because I didn't have anything else that I could have done to subsist. Number one. Two, I enjoyed the ride. I've enjoyed the ride. I think yes, there have been a lot of dark days and dark nights, but if I stack them up against the good days and the good nights, there's no comparison. So I've been, like I said, I'm very positive about. But having seen people go through these dark phases and then actually either burning out or stopping or completely letting go of something they came with so much passion to, right? Because people who come into advertising, there's a leap of faith. You got to have a leap of faith because ये इतना subjective field है, आपके egos every day trample होते जाते हैं इसमें. So some people can't handle it, right? They just cannot. And then you add the pressure cooker of a bad boss or a bad client or a bad whatever dynamic in office. So that's one part. Second part is on copywriting itself. I think what's happened, Simple, honestly, is that I don't think there's anything called copywriting today. We were weaned and brought up on 4 media or 3 media, right? We had press, which was print and magazines or newspapers and magazines, as you put it. You had radio, you had television, and you had some amount of outdoor, right? When outdoor used to be an adaptation of mostly what you're doing in press. So you knew exactly यार ये करना है करके इतना करना है 2 campaigns लगेंगे एक वो press में लगेगा एक you need some TV script to if the client has a budget. So you were quite structured in the way, and that was copywriting. It was a writer-led medium. Of course, I'm not demeaning the art directors. Art and design is super important. Yes. But it was a very clear demarcation of roles and a very clear process and a flow. Today, what's happened is everything is being bundled under the word content, right? So content, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know even if copywriting is relevant these days because LinkedIn now is the only writer's medium to be, if you were to look at it this way, right? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, maybe to a certain extent, yes. Twitter is also a writer's medium. I mean, if you have a strident opinion as a writer, but I don't know if copywriting is really copywriting anymore. It is, I would say it's creative writing today. And if I go by what Gen Z is telling me, it is writing hooks and CTAs. Which is not copywriting. Which is not copywriting. It's clickbait.
Yes.
What you're doing is just clickbait writing, which is not even writing. If I were to really think about it that way. Copywriting is really building an argument, right? Copywriting is actually building an argument for why you need this product or service or brand in your bloody life.
Absolutely.
Given a choice, people wouldn't want a brand in their life.
Yes.
Right. You have a fixed brand you go and buy. You have a fixed rice brand you will buy, a fixed brand of alcohol you will buy. You know what car you want to buy. You're fairly clear, right? You know your budgets and you know your needs and wants and whatever. No amount of advertising is going to inspire you to go and buy X because X looks sexier or better or whatever.
Exactly.
So copywriting, I don't even know if that animal exists anymore. We are just fancifully calling ourselves the same. I just feel that this whole industry is broken. This is my and I can't speak for the whole industry, obviously, but from an insider point of view, as well as if I were to just step out and look from outside looking in, I just feel the whole system is very broken. I think people are quite headless right now, and they're just going. They're living on faith and tomorrow. It's a lot of that. And that's where the problem is happening for the young generation.
Yes. And also I feel that Shanti, you speak to a lot of these kids who are starting off or who are confused, and I am sure you have a lot of perspective into it, because what I have been told is that when I also put out these posts about mental health, toxic environment, all of that. This is something I've been wanting to discuss with you. So one of my ex bosses told me that these kids in my office read your posts and then they act like we are not going to take shit, but they're
Hmm.
not. They don't sit and work.
Hmm.
So what they take from that, or they take from anybody toxic talking about what is toxic in advertising, is that
Hmm.
I am going to act like a spoiled brat.
Yeah,
This is basically what he was telling me.
correct.
So he said that where you come from, when you are putting it out there, you are also being true to your work. So when I do my work, it doesn't come from this thing of, oh, you know what, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that because I stand
Right,
for this. So
right.
that comes as a part of, uh, don't push me
Hmm.
to an extent, and I'm
Hmm.
going to draw a boundary. That's
Hmm.
that's the perspective I come from. So you speak to a lot of these,
Right.
young people, and one of one person reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he told me that my company has fired me and this and that, and they are blah 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 blah,
Right.
and it's a toxic work. He used all the words I used in my hashtag, right? He used all the
Right.
words to me.
Correct.
And when I spoke to him, I said, what was the problem? He said that they said I was not performing well.
Hmm.
So he said, I just ended up taking a lot of leaves. I didn't, respond to my boss. I didn't. He said a couple of things, and I told him that, it comes across to me that you were also at fault,
Hmm.
and then blaming just the system
Hmm.
is not going to get you out of this. So do you feel that toxic positivity basically
Hmm.
is it real in the industry, in that sense, that where do you draw the line where you're not exploiting your right to express yourself, or to
Hmm.
draw the boundary, or all of that? So do you think that that sort of, because when we started advertising, we were at the other extremes. We were very meek. I was very meek. I would listen to whatever the person would say, and for me,
Hmm.
maybe that is why it comes out in the form of, I'm not going to take all this anymore. But
Right.
for people who come to the work thinking that I don't owe anyone any explanation,
Hmm.
that comes from a place of arrogance. I don't think that comes from a
Yeah.
place of, not taking shit, but it comes
Right.
from a place of arrogance. So do you think that how true do you think that is, in the sense of, when you deal with a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of them?
See, again, like, these are, we always use this phrase called generational gap, right? Or generation
Yeah,
gap.
absolutely.
And I'm sure
Absolutely.
when, when we start, I mean, I started in the 90s, the generation 10 years before me would have looked at me and said that, who's this upstart, right? And I'm sure that now when we look at a 23-year-old or a 24-year-old, we might think the same at my
Right.
age.
Right.
But the fundamental difference that's happened is the amount of exposure that young kids have today versus what we had. I did not know what was happening in other agencies when I started.
Okay.
Maybe if I had a friend or a colleague who was working in another agency and we met at say a Toto's in Bombay for a drink, you would have that informal gathering where everyone would be bitching about their work environment. And yeah, raat gayi, baat gayi, you get up next morning, you go back to your place of work, right? You had maybe two advertising. There was an advertising magazine called The Brief, which was a printed magazine in those days, and then there was Agency Facts, which came up early
Mm.
2000s, which would give you some tea on, spill some tea on what was happening
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the industry, right? But apart from that, there was no noise. Okay. Today, a 23-year-old, 24-year-old is coming in with opinions from left, right, and center, opinions from their own clique, opinions what are happening within the agency, and then that shower of information that is happening on LinkedIn, where they're seeing a post-pandemic world where a 20-year-old kid is saying, I'm earning 5 lakhs a month as a freelancer, and then this
Yes.
girl or this boy is sitting in an office till late in the night and I'm earning 30,000 rupees and wondering what the fuck am I doing here,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that one part, I think I give that benefit of doubt to the younger people, saying that ठीक है यार, ये थोड़ा overall ही toxic हो गया है environment.
Mm.
Because if you're getting shit, why would you take shit? See,
Absolutely.
in our case, what happened is getting an advertising job again from where you were meant you had to go back into the whole rigmarole of giving
Yes.
interviews. Today,
Yes.
you have choices. You can be a freelancer. You can up and leave with at the drop of a hat. You can say fuck you and get off, right? But the other part is also true. I think what's happened because of that is because it's so the exit is so easy, the exit clause is fairly simple. The entry effort is very low. I think the passion or that commitment is also dimmed. So that's why you see a lot more writers with entitlement.
Yes.
They've not done the hard mile. They don't know the field. They don't even know what marketing is. They don't even know technically what advertising is or what content is. But because they're seeing a 16-year-old on YouTube who's made it big, and a 20-year-old doing something on Instagram and making it big, and a 30-year-old doing it on TikTok and making it big, they feel it's easy.
Yes.
And they feel, yaar, मेरे को validation क्यों नहीं मिल रही? Why am I not being validated for what I'm doing, right? But they fail to understand that even there will always be the one success which comes out of complete destiny. There's no hard work. It just virals or whatever because of no reason.
Yeah.
But the 99 other successes have come from a lot of hard work. Whether it is the top YouTube content creators or Insta creators, it's not that they're slacking off. It's not that they don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's their game. How they play it is their game. Whether they play it authentically or fake, right? But there is a lot of hard work that any content creator or writer or creative is got to do. I don't see that happening. And again, a lot of the young guys who write to me have this duality. At one level, they're frustrated, but at the other level, if we were told that, boss, ye hard mile karna hai aapko. Like even in my workshop, when I did my workshop, when I was giving assignments, I realized that only 10% of the people would actually adhere to the deadlines. So when I noticed it for 15 days and I told the whole group, I said, listen, dude, if I was doing this in a workshop and I was not meeting my deadline, I would be given a dressing down.
Yeah,
so then
exactly.
I started getting excuses saying that, oh, but it's late in the night when the workshop is happening. I don't have time. So I said, dude, you come for the workshop to learn, not me.
Yes.
Right. I would have had this workshop done even with one person.
Yes.
You paid me good money. You come in for a reason. Now, damn, live it, no? Why do you want to escape from this? So that's where I feel, thoda difficult situation hai, because they are right and they are wrong. I don't know how to really put a finger on it and tell them that, boss, listen, maybe the problem is not on the outside. The problem could be very well inside you.
Inside you. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's where it's going, I feel. Tough. What tough?
So, Shanti, that happens with me. These people reach out to me. Okay, I have a lot of people who come in my DM and they talk about how frustrated they are. They will just keep typing. They don't want me to do anything. They just want me to listen to them, right? Because I possibly can't do anything. Yeah. I asked them, do you want to leave the job? I asked them first. I said, have you tried everything else? Do you want to leave the job? They're like, no, I don't want to leave the job. So if you don't want to leave the job, then you have to set boundaries, leading towards, with you in this conversation that, advertising everyone's hearing what people are talking about, right? It's literally stamped as one of the most toxic, environments to work in, and it at one point maybe, it worked, but now, like you said, people do have a lot of options. People are much more aware of their own capabilities in a lot more sense. In a lot of cases, it is literally pushing towards arrogance, perhaps, but they are very much aware that, I'm not worth this, especially the younger crowd.
Right.
The idea of respect that we entered in the offices with is no more there. I will not talk to you in a certain way because I think you are at a higher level. The cabin sort of a structure has diminished. People are at the same level, flat hierarchies.
Yeah, flat hierarchies. Yeah.
To be, so all of that is happening. Do you think that these people running the system, you have an agency of your own. Do you think that are there any policies, or are there the other people putting things into perspective? Are there any changes being done? It still has come a long way, even agency culture in that sense. People now have the right to say no. When I started, I remember one of my bosses told me that, listen, you have to understand that still you're in the agency, you cannot make plans on the weekdays. Not after 6 p.m., not after 7 p.m., not after 8 p.m. You cannot. Okay. And at that point of time, I very, not gladly, but accepted. I knew that, okay, this is what it is. Do you think that there are any changes being made, in that sense? Because we keep crying about it. I mean, even what you post, when you post it, other than the amazing wordplays that you do, in your post, when you talk about the agency culture, you come from a point of view of you know not how it was years back then,
Hmm.
and you come from the point of view of what is it right now. And I
Hmm.
think you being in the industry for so long, you have upgraded, you've also
Yeah,
learned new ways of
absolutely,
working in that sense, right?
absolutely.
You realize that okay, this will not work, so you have to
Correct.
constantly upgrade yourself as an agency.
Right.
And so do you think that's happening in many places, or see, because the big guns are still the same. I speak to a lot of friends who are still working there, and they come from this कि
Right.
मैं तो ये हूँ, मैं तो ये बड़ी
Correct.
एजेंसी हूँ,
Correct.
ठीक है, I am the big O, so
Right.
you will have to work according to who I am.
Correct.
But do you think that change is happening? Are there any there are no policies in place, to be very honest, because I've been reading, I've been trying to talk it, because I've been trying to get into this, the creative shrink that you said. I've
Hmm.
been trying really hard to, get into the head of not just the people, but the authorities, the
Hmm.
ones who are making the system.
Right.
And I understand that they come with their own, mm, they come with their own rules, and they have reasons for that.
Hmm.
But do you see any change in that sense happening in the structure, or suggest some in
Hmm.
that sense?
See, I'll put it in. Like I said, all what I can speak on is mostly from a personal perspective. Of course, there
Hmm.
will be a lot of
Yes.
perspective from an industry
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Though I'm cut off from India, and I know that
Hmm.
my perspective is for the last 18 years has been more from a Dubai perspective. So my
Hmm.
understanding of the Indian market is second-hand information, right?
Yes.
I'm not there. I'm not
Hmm.
in the mud there right now.
Hmm.
So what I can only say is that my perspective has changed after I started an agency, right?
Hmm.
I think till you on the business side of things, no,
Hmm.
you don't realize the pressure that perhaps the founder of the agency or the person who's running the agency goes through.
Hmm.
And a lot of times now, when I look back, I've looked at the flashpoints that have happened between, say, a creative department and the business department or the marketing department, I mean, the leadership of the agency. We've never been exposed to the pressure, perhaps, of bottom line, right?
Yes.
We used to get our salaries. We would hear stuff that हाँ agency में problem है, या हमको और clients चाहिए, या whatever, or we need to get more business or whatever it is, right? But we were not in that on the firing line, literally, right? Our firing line was creative deliver karo,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is not an easy firing line to be in. I'm not diminishing that either, but we were still in our own cocoons, right?
Yeah.
Today, as an agency owner, I realized that what kind of pressure my bosses who were running the business would have been under, right? And those were days when agencies were making much more money. You had a 15 to 17.5% commission happening. You had your media payments happening. Creatives would be respected. I think there was a lot more respect for the agency with the client.
Absolutely.
Today, a
Absolutely.
client has a choice to play the field, right? I know one client, and I won't take names here, but they call themselves an integrated client, but they've disintegrated their work across 20 different silos. So they have a creative agency that only delivers copy, another creative agency that delivers art, a third creative agency that delivers social media, a fourth that does within social media Facebook, and then there's a separate media agency, PR agency, events agency. So you can imagine when a single project happens, the amount of people who are sitting on one table, right? It
Yeah.
looks like
Yeah.
कोई मर गया है, like मार्तम में आ
Yeah.
गया types, right?
Exactly.
Now there's no respect for
Yeah.
agencies.
Yeah.
Now if so, I'm look at the domino effect here, right? You're a client, you're meeting a business owner of an agency.
Hmm.
The owner of the agency is under pressure because he or she needs to make sure that this client comes in. They are kowtowing, they are maybe even not even you know digging their heels to tell the client that नहीं हम लोग ऐसा करेंगे, तुम लोग जो बोलो हम लोग करेंगे, right? And then that pressure then goes right down to the bottom, because the moment the client comes in, there's pressure that we have to service this client, जो करना है करो. You have to, then it goes down to the copywriter, and the copywriter is told no, शादी कर रहे हो 2 महीने बाद करो. मम्मी मर रही है,
Exactly.
मम्मी को बोलो थोड़ा
Wait,
ऑक्सीजन पे
correct.
बैठे, हाँ एक महीना और ऑक्सीजन पे बैठे, right? Now,
That's true.
unfortunately, why is that happening? Because the system itself is finally a monetary system.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is money at the end of the day that drives what's happened is money has gone away from advertising and gone into other content fields, right?
Yes.
Simple.
Absolutely.
I'll give you the simplest example. I have seen the amount of creative work go down on my own plate in the last 5 years after influencers have come in. Why? Because all
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
client has to do is give the influencer the product. The influencer
Yeah.
has his or own style and his or own content creation. The
Yes.
agency is not even involved in this.
Hmm.
But agency is told to supervise. हाँ
Yes.
भैया तू जा देखा बराबर हो रहा है ना
देखो.
सब. अरे मैं क्यों देखूं, मेरा स्क्रिप्ट नहीं है.
Exactly.
I
You
am
just
not
go
being,
and basically suck
yeah.
up to them, the influencers, so they're doing
Yeah.
well.
So now what happens is
Yeah.
I will call, I'm a boss, so I will call my
Hmm.
junior. I say, hey
Yeah.
junior, तू जा
पूजा.
उधर शूट के लिए.
हाँ. हाँ.
अभी वो जूनियर को ना पैसा मिल रहा है, ना कन्वेंस
Yes.
फी मिल रहा है.
Yes.
वो सेलिब्रिटी उधर है, इन्फ्लुएंसर 10 बजे रात को शूट कर रहा है. This person has to go there at 10 in the night. What is that
Yes.
person going to do, right?
Hmm.
So I think eventually the problem is that the money, the sort of what used to be a river has now become a trickle, and that trickle is actually causing a lot of issues across the board.
Hmm.
So the fat cats will still get paid. And when I mean
Yes.
fat cats is the big guys who have made it, done it, been
Made
there.
it. Yeah.
But you honestly ask the smaller kittens, in whether it's the big O or the big M or the big C or whatever it is, what
Yeah.
they're going through, you will realize the doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani.
I think you're right. The respect for agencies has also diminished, and I think
Yeah, I
we
mean,
are just.
I'll give you one more example. I'll just take 30 seconds more. I had Pratap Sutan for one
Yeah.
of my workshops, right? He came in as a guest, and I
Right.
really
Yeah.
wanted to get his perspective because he's been in the industry for 35, 36 years,
Yes.
much longer than all of us put together.
Yes.
And he's really seen a lot, and he's still very, passionate and very headstrong about what he believes advertising is.
Yes.
And he
Yes.
made a very good point. He said that when he first entered Mudra in Ahmedabad, in the servicing department, in the brains trust of the agency, there were 8 PhDs. Okay, so imagine walking into an agency where there are 8 PhDs who are your servicing people, who
Wow.
are your account manager, your account executive, your
Yeah.
whatever senior VP, client servicing, right? And then when you enter a meeting with them, you realize the kind of input and the kind of sort of love and the kind of passion they get to the table. And then when you go with that work to a client, the client knows that bloody this is a team of 8 PhDs entering this room. Yeah, I better not dick up with these guys. Right.
Exactly. Wow.
Versus today, we don't know the caliber of the people, right?
Absolutely.
There's no trust within teams.
There's no trust.
There's no
There
trust
is
within teams. So how are you going to have trust in the industry? Right?
Yeah,
So
that's so true.
caliber बहुत गिर गया है, बहुत गिर गया है.
And I think because of the lack of caliber, people who are underqualified are doing the job. And I think the client also sees through it.
Yeah.
So when they treat you like that, they treat you like a vendor. You're no more
Absolutely.
like a partner. It's not a partnership anymore.
No, it's and sad to say. I mean, it's become like how spot boy is at a set.
Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
without demeaning that, because spot
The
boy does a lot.
Yeah.
But we've been treated like that. We've been treated like postmen. We've been treated like okay, ठीक है यार, तू कौन है types.
Exactly.
So, and that's because the agency owners themselves have to take that responsibility. You have to reclaim that respect.
Absolutely.
In some way, like you have to say no to clients. You have to say, is this okay? Fine, this is a 1 crore client, but how much of it is going to take away from my agency in terms of the time, in terms of resource, in terms of mental health? There's a cost to all that which we don't put into effect, right?
Absolutely.
And that is the problem.
So Shanti, recently I went to one of the trips and I met some lovely women on the trip, and they spoke of something very interesting. And I was telling them about the podcast, etc. And they said that we all have these mental health sort of support in office. But what is that support doing to me? They say that you can't go for the same therapist more than once.
Correct.
Okay, which completely, basically, it's a futile effort because you have to build that trust over with that therapist. Secondly, they feel that the therapist is representing the company, so you are not going to be completely open. I can't go and talk about, like, very honestly about my boss or the company or the fact that I feel like leaving and a lot of other things.
Correct.
Which again completely nullifies the the conversation itself.
True.
What are we talking to each other for? So then I feel that these are just the efforts taken by companies under the pressure, the social pressure that they feel that I need to have, this. I have an inclusive LGBTQA, hiring policy, but no, how many of them are actually represented there?
Yeah, basically paying lip service more than anything else. Yeah.
Yes. So these, now when coming from all this, and advertising, like you said, that they have to reclaim that respect. On the contrary, what they're doing is वो झुक जाते हैं, उनके पीछे के 10 वालों को भी झुकना पड़ता है.
हाँ, वही हो रहा है exactly.
कि मैं अगर, if I come to you and I say that Shanti, I'll do this in 2 days. Don't go to the big O. I'll do it in 2 days for you. And we're like, okay, do. अगर 2 days कराने के लिए मुझे अपने पीछे वाले, because मैं तो खुद नहीं करूंगी, I'm the owner.
Exactly.
I'm not going to do it in 2 days. Exactly. Everyone else is going to get fucked.
Right. Also, it's the owners themselves. See, when we entered advertising agencies were started by people who were already in advertising.
Exactly.
Today, there are a lot of digital agencies, social media agencies, which the owner or the founder or the startup person hasn't had the industry experience.
Absolutely.
They have actually just looked at it as a business. They're an entrepreneur, but they may not necessarily be an advertising or a creative entrepreneur. They may not have the. Now, if you're going to slice the bread that way, then you don't know the pressure of what your people are going through, because you don't know the creative process, you don't know the servicing process, you don't know the client process. You're only looking at it as numbers.
Absolutely.
So the problem is, it's like these big companies buying football teams, right?
Yeah.
Now, an airline, a big huge airline, is buying a football team in the UK. Now, an airline is not supposed to know the business of football or the dynamics of football or what players are going to go through. All they're looking at it is, I want to buy Messi for X and I want to buy Neymar for Z and I want to buy whatever for Y, right? But that's why they need the professionals there. They actually need to hire professionals there who are going to take care of the football business. Well, these guys, the airlines can focus on the airlines, but it's still profitable for them to run the football club.
Yes.
That is again also not happening, because what's happening is the owners who are buying agencies, who don't have agency experience, are not hiring the right professionals at the right level.
Exactly. They are not hiring entrepreneurs to support the entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. Very well said. Very well said. They're not. There's no entrepreneur. Right.
Exactly.
So how will you even break? I mean, how will you even forget about repairing a system? How will you even patch up a system then? Repairing to बहुत बड़ी बात है. How do you even put a band-aid on this system? It's bleeding.
That's so true.
Right now, you're bleeding out of a knife wound and you're putting a small band-aid. So
exactly.
It's crazy.
That's so true. And okay, so finally, I'm going to talk about.
But a lot of doom. A lot of doom and gloom. Let's talk something.
Good, no? Good.
Yeah. I mean,
good things.
It not be too doom and gloom. This industry has survived. This industry has survived. There's still good people out there, and
absolutely.
I think when we talk about mental health, and it's very important. Again, and this is my perspective, that fine. You lay down the problems, you lay down the sort of challenges that are there, but then somewhere we got to be positive about it, right? So
absolutely. And I think, Shanti, it all comes down to this. And while speaking to you, I also wanted to put it across to people that when you talk about mental health, when you talk about any of this, right now, all of us, each one of us, has the agency and the liberty to speak up when we have
absolutely
right? Absolutely. So either I can sit and crib about how horrible my workplace is, and not participate, hate my work, all of that, do all of that, or what I can do, and I always did this, was I would do my work and then I will put across my problem, because my work is not going to get affected because personally I don't agree with XYZ, or I have a problem. So you have the option of voicing out your opinion right now. Voice it out, but be honest to your work. I think for me that goes together.
Without doubt.
And when you do that, Shanti, I think a lot of we can stop perhaps the blame game and take the onus of changing how it is. Like you spoke of agencies where that culture is not as prevalent as it is in a lot of other places, and I think, and I worked in a lot of toxic places But I think it took me a lot of time to voice my opinion, but I think the times are very different in that sense. Now,
Correct.
right now, at this moment, people have options. So,
Absolutely.
you speak up, you enjoy the work, because advertising at the end of the day is one of the most fun professions, if I were to put it like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When
Even today.
even today, like, when we speak of it, when we joke about it, the fun of it is that when you enter the office every day, you don't know, one day you're talking about condoms, the other day you're talking
Yeah,
about diapers. and and
absolutely.
and that sort of playing with your creativity in itself is the push.
Right.
um so I think, yeah, in that way, it's always been fun. Like I said, love hate relationship that we share. And
Correct.
because it was, this was been about mental health, we just wanted to weigh in a lot more about what are the problems people face. And you are a very, very big example of how you don't let that affect you in a way
Yeah.
that,
Not
you know
majorly. I mean, I'm not trying to be some perfect animal here or human being here. I
yes,
have my dark days and I do go through a lot of pressure,
absolutely.
but I don't let it overwhelm me. Let me put it that
Exactly, I think that's what. And like, I tell my friends now, and I start doing that, is if you want to leave work, see, as creators, to be honest, are always thinking of work. Let's
way.
be
Yes.
honest, like that one brief will always stay with you till you know that
Correct.
you've cracked it, even after it. But
Correct.
I think that the problems that come with it, you leave them at work and you come back home. And if I feel that that my job is demanding that I stay at work till 10 every night, then I
Yeah.
speak up and say that this is not working out for me. Let's
Correct.
find something else. Like
Right.
in one of my previous agencies, the boss would turn up in the second half, right? So our work would start in the second half.
Right.
So I very politely told him that, see, I come at 9 in the morning. you know so for me, it's staying till 9 at night does not make sense.
Correct.
So what we can do is, I can do my work till this time. When you come, we can discuss that work.
Right.
So your time is saved, my time is saved, and then we move ahead. I think, but I need to speak up.
Right.
If I don't speak up and I keep, harboring that, I only discuss it with my bitching sessions with my friends over, calls or
Correct.
whatever, alcohol and all of that. I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to, keep building that up, and it's going to not lead anywhere.
True.
So in that sense, Shanti, what do you have to say to people, though you speak to these people every day, and whenever you have your copy workshops, and you do a lot of events, you talk to a lot of people about advertising, but what would you know in this whole topic of mental health in the advertising industry specifically, what would you like to speak to them? And I don't expect any, like, be like this wise words of
No,
being
no,
like,
no,
oh
not
my
at all.
god,
Not at all. Not
but
at all.
whatever comes very naturally to
See,
you, because
I have
yeah,
really my feeling is that today is an era of choice. You have
absolutely,
choice. Simple as that,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
You don't necessarily have to go to office. You can always
Mm.
work out a hybrid version, right? In
Yes,
fact, a lot of agencies are doing that today.
doing it.
They're not expecting their folks to be Monday to whatever Friday all day in office, right? They are giving them the flexibility. So number one, you do have the flexibility. Number two, you do have the option of discussing the flexibility as well with your teams. Okay, so
Yes,
that's one part of the exercise. That's one choice you have. The second choice you have is what kind of a writer do you want to be? You want to be a writer who works with teams in a proper setup, whether it's an advertising, digital, social media firm, whatever, or do you want to wing it out on your own, like half of LinkedIn is doing today?
yes.
Now, as with any industry, whether it's the airline industry, the transportation industry, whatever, every industry will have its SWOT. Every industry will have its pros and cons. Every industry will have its levels of toxicity. So just because it's fashionable today to beat advertising doesn't mean there's no problems happening in airlines or no problems happening in
Absolutely,
F&B, for example, or wherever, right?
absolutely.
Hospitality or whatever. But what happens is because we are dealing with our product is intangible, right? The product that advertising creates or creative agencies create is intangible. There is no
Yes,
logic, there is no physical form sometimes to it. You
yes.
can say an idea. What's an idea?
What's the idea?
Does it have a form shape? Does it have an IP? We don't know. There are these gray areas there. What's critical for the young people to realize is that you have a choice. You don't like something, please move on. You don't need to wallow. You don't need to let it affect you. But at the same time, when you're voicing your opinion on a platform which is very, very open at the end of the day, whether it is LinkedIn, whether it's any of the others, right?
Yes.
It's a lot to do also with how people perceive you for that. And you're not going to change those perceptions, you know.
Exactly.
And I'll give you a very, very simple real life example that happened to me. This happened in 2008. And I had joined an agency as an executive creative director. And I was very, very aggressive on Facebook in those days, right? Facebook is much better those days than it is today. I've switched off Facebook a long time back. But I used to do the same one-liners that I'm doing on LinkedIn. Similar vein, I used to have these sarcastic one-liners on Facebook at that time. And I remember one particular project that had happened, which had taken myself and the team 7 full days, 24/7 of work in the agency. We were sleeping in the agency, eating in the agency, bathing in the agency, whatever. And none of the bosses in the agency were even there for the 7 days. And I was so frustrated because I was heading the creative that on the 8th day, when the project was delivered and we had finished, I put up a really nasty comment on Facebook. And my bosses were not on Facebook, but somebody who was on Facebook who knew them called them and said, "Look what your ECD has done." And ye sab bol raha hai. I had not taken names, but it was apparent to people who it was, right? And then my boss called me and he said, "Listen, I have no problems in you putting that out. I know you. I know where it's coming from. But you know what? The perception of you outside, because this person who called me and told me about this had a different perception of you after the tweet. I mean, not after the tweet, sorry, after the post. And he said, that person doesn't know you, like I know you. So be very careful. You know, you could very well come to my cabin and say, dude, you were not there for 7 days. What the fuck?
Yes.
You don't need to put it out. So I think the level of what you're putting out, because there is a perception that is built about you. So do it only if you're absolutely really against the wall and there's no hope to get out. But if you keep doing that as a revenge tactic, as a means of expression to say that, oh, I'm forever anti something, right? किधर तो वो rub off हो जाता है personality में. So that's my limited piece of advice for youngsters. But what I would really tell youngsters is, ये field, creative field, I'm not saying just advertising. The creative field is it requires two Hindi words. I've used this in another place also. It's called shiddat and muddat. Shiddat ka matlab hai discipline. You need that commitment, you need that discipline, you need that input, you need that. And muddat is time. Right? You need to fucking give it time, man. You can't be hustling all the time and expecting things overnight and then complaining because you haven't got things overnight. Boss, you've not got things overnight because you've not put the time or the effort on it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So don't always be in this rebellious. It's good to be what's the right word? It's good to have an opinion. But don't just be rebellious for the sake of being rebellious and be a rabble rouser, as they say, right?
Yeah.
End में public, yeah. What will people judge you for? What do people judge you for? The people judge you for the attitude that you bring to the table and for the delivery of your work.
Absolutely.
Right? Even if you're a freelancer, your freelance career is dependent only on two things: what attitude you have with your client and what is your delivery.
Delivery, absolutely.
That's all the client will be judging you on. Now, if one of the two is lower, people will still forgive you for quality, but people will not forgive you for the attitude. Let me tell you that very clearly.
Absolutely.
आप दो जॉब भले कम करो, दो डेडलाइन मिस करो, एक हेडलाइन गंदा लिखो, एक ad you don't deliver a blog. It's like, Shishupal and Krishna, the 100 खून माफ. But you do one or two issues where you really have your attitude showing for no reason. Trust me, you will be executed at that point in time itself, and you'll find it very difficult then to your mental health will go even lower, and then you'll be even more crabby and even more negative. Absolutely. It's like a whirlpool of, it just goes on. Absolutely. So these are things. I mean, again, I'm not trying to be a voice of God, or I'm not trying to be this agony aunt or uncle or whatever. I'm just merely stating that in my 25 years in this industry, I have seen more ups than I've seen downs. And any industry will show you that same mirror. Cherish those ups, learn from the downs, and if the downs are so bad that you need to move on, please move on. Please move on. Don't get stuck in a net which is stifling. You got to fight that fight yourself. You got to fight that fight. So do what's correct, because आप क्यों कर रहे हो? You're doing it for, see, and again in the workshop I've realized, some people really genuinely need the money.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
genuinely have a kitchen fire to burn. There are people
Exactly.
with responsibilities, and I know it's so tough when you're running a family and people are dependent on you, and then suddenly you're accosted with a problem at work, right?
Absolutely.
It's really debilitating for people like that.
Mm.
It's okay for people who for money, maybe the money is not important, or maybe they can do away with a little bit of pressure. They're okay. But
Mm.
7 out of 10 people have a genuine reason for working in the field, and
Absolutely.
let's not that's the tough part. And I really think you people, like maybe even me, people like senior people who've mid to senior people, even if you're not mentoring your own teams, somewhere if you can mentor even one or two or 5 or 10 people in your individual space on LinkedIn or wherever, just
Absolutely.
speak your heart out to them and give them that
Absolutely.
little bit. बस हो गया.
Absolutely,
उसके
Shanti.
बाद you can't help everyone. You can't.
You can't help. You can't also,
You can't
and
have
I
the
think
time. Yeah.
Shanti, like from my also hear from you and a lot of other people who have not just survived in the industry but happily done so.
Correct.
Most days is
Absolutely.
that is that your and I think it comes down to this one line is that your idea of success is everyone's idea of success is very personal, and
True.
if I am okay pushing even a late night or weekends, and if that's something that like when I started off it I was very excited about it
Yeah.
because I was obviously had a lot more strength and all of that. But I think if that's your idea of success, good. I mean, there should be someone like you are mentoring kids and you're telling them this is what it is. This is
Correct.
what is expected of you. And if you're okay with this in terms of the efforts you put in and you said the patience and the time and all of that, and
Right.
you're okay with it, go ahead with it.
Noticed after that spec ad thing has sort of exploded on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And what I've realized is that forget the quality of the spec ads that comes out. I mean
Yeah.
that anyway, some will be good, some will be bad, some will be
Yeah.
ugly. That doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I just see a complete release when people do spec ads. It comes out of a place of joy for people.
Absolutely.
They're like butterflies. अभी मेरे को
Yeah.
करना है. Now the same person is not finding that butterfly when they're
At
doing the
work.
everyday job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have always been telling a lot of people these days that listen, treat everything as a spec ad. Then no?
Exactly.
You'll
That's
feel that energy, you'll feel that freedom, you'll feel that release in you, right?
so true.
And we are at the end of the day, what are we creating? We are creating our own babies.
Hmm.
क्रिएटिव में जॉय कहाँ आता है? पैसे से नहीं आता है, पब्लिक से नहीं आता है, काम से आता है ना. When you
Hmm.
see a good ad released, or when you see a good creative being appreciated, or whatever it is, right? That is where we really find our validation from. No? So if you're not
Absolutely.
able to bring that energy and that focus onto what you're creating, leave everything aside. You know, you've consciously entered a creative field. Now, creative field is obviously subjective. It is
Hmm.
obviously got to have its pressures. It's a different animal.
Hmm.
But don't be so focused on that pressure that you forget that what you're creating. Yeah,
Creating. Absolutely.
जो
Yeah.
a small potter somewhere in Maharashtra who is not even earning 5 rupees for his pot, which a middleman is selling for 500 rupees in Bombay.
Yeah.
Is he sitting on that wheel thinking about, oh, I am not earning 495 rupees here? No,
Exactly.
his fingers or her fingers are just going through that damn clay.
Yeah.
They're focused on the clay.
Absolutely.
Same with
Absolutely.
weavers. Our handicrafts guys. I mean, guys, our entire handicraft industry is the most creative industry in India. हम लोग बड़े बड़े सोचते
Absolutely.
हो हम लोग ने क्रिएटिव किया है. Go to a weaver, sit with a weaver.
So
Go to
true.
where a Paithani sari is made. Go to these small handicraft. You will see the dedication, the passion. you
Hmm.
know
Hmm.
and you think they're earning six figures? No.
Hmm.
You think they're not working in toxic environments? No.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
once they sit on the loom, they know exactly यार मेरे को ये weapon weft ऐसे करना है करके. So
Absolutely.
that is it. Yeah, don't be so यार life है यार, जियो थोड़ा, जियो
The
life.
joy of
यार
creation.
यार जियो life को यार.
बिल्कुल सही बात है.
बस pressure तो आने वाले, will be in the same pressure at 18, 28, 38, 48, 58. Pressure is never going to let up of you. Yeah. But then
That's
you
so true.
entered a field where you can go in shorts, you can go in a banyan, you can drink and not worry about it, you can smoke and not worry about it. I mean, these are health concerns, please worry about it. But I'm saying nobody's going to judge you for the
Judge
lifestyle
you
that
on
you're
that.
living, right? And today,
And the
yeah, today especially. So,
and the people, the people, the people you meet in advertising. I think they form such an integral part of your
You-
life.
that is another issue. That is if you're freelancing, your only work buddy is Chat GPT.
That's so true. It's
I,
I miss it so much,
I
Shanti.
mean,
I miss people.
one of my
Hmm.
one of my seniors, I was having a conversation with him about 2 weeks back, and he said it so beautifully. He said, "What is Shanti? What is the most toxic environment?" I said, "What? Working alone."
Absolutely,
He said, "Man,
absolutely.
he's going cuckoo. He's saying that I'm so used to having people around me and
So
ideas
true,
and
so
oh,
true.
masti and koi gali de raha hai, ye kar raha hai, wo kar raha hai." And suddenly now in last 8 months he's working alone. He's saying, "Fish, man, it's only me and my thoughts, and I find half my
Absolutely.
thoughts toxic, and I'm doubting myself, and I don't have a bouncing a bouncing board." So
Absolutely, so true. It makes you, I think the fun of a lot of fun that comes from working is working with people. And
correct,
I think especially in advertising, because when I talk to you, like, we discuss, like, we joke about it, but when we joke about it, like 10 things come up.
yeah,
And those 10 things make for that idea that we've been thinking about.
absolutely.
Friends. So yeah, that's so true. The
And if
people,
you're an unhappy person, no, trust me, you'll always be an unhappy person.
so true, so true,
आपको आपको कहीं भी डालो यार आपको you I put you in paradise also you'll be unhappy.
so true,
You'll be finding fault with the
so
mountains and the
true.
stars and the trees and everything.
So
So
true.
I really feel that I feel for the young generation. I really know that they're going through a lot. They're in dire need of advice, mentorship, structures, platforms that give them a little bit of sense of belief. And we also, I think you also, you've been through a lot. You bring a lot of your personal shit that you've been through, and I know where it's coming from. Right? It's not coming
Hmm.
from a lot. A lot of what you are saying out there, there is a cry of pain.
Hmm.
And
Yes,
in my
absolutely.
own way, yes, when I'm being sarcastic, sarcasm is a cry of pain,
Yes.
right?
Yes, it
It's
is.
not just meant to be humor. Humor comes from pain at the end of the day. You're
Absolutely.
just quoting it in a slightly fun way so that
Fun way.
it's like a joker, no? वो कहता है
Yeah.
joker. Joker hides his real emotions. But
Yes.
I really feel mental health is a very very serious topic. It's really got to be discussed and conversed, and people really have to have really heart to heart chats on it. But it's also not something that you should uh, misuse.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
really, if you are a positive person, radiate that positivity, because one of you does it, two of you do it, four of you, eight of you, 16 of you. Trust me, it's going to be just better for everyone. It's just
So
going to be
true.
better for everyone
So true.
in your
So
own way.
true.
I'm not telling you to be laughy and smiley all day. That's not how it works.
Hmm.
But you can't also be morose and dark all the time.
Absolutely,
Nobody, I
Shanti.
mean, nobody is so bad that they don't have a light inside them.
So much for extending and giving me so much of your time. And it's always so much fun talking to you. Hearing you talk about the industry always makes me, to be very honest, love it a little more. um, and I think you're doing a great job in, like you said, giving back to the industry. And I really really hope more people do that in in different ways,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
ways
absolutely.
they can.
Absolutely.
um
And you know what? Don't feel bad about monetizing it, because what I've done is,
Absolutely.
I'm doing it with a select group of people. It's not for the money, but then
Hmm.
there's no respect for the effort if I do a 1 month as well, right?
Absolutely,
Right. So
absolutely. And I think,
I think, like Pratap, for example, after he did his session, and I told him, I said, Pratap, you should be doing this,
hmm,
and charge good money for it, because what you're going to tell people is going to be priceless. So,
so true.
I don't think we should shy away from it. There are, I mean, 20-year-old kids doing it, and why should
So
we?
so true,
Yeah,
so
why
true.
should we feel ashamed or embarrassed
And I
about doing
think
it?
people also take it seriously, Shanti, when they're paying for it.
Absolutely,
you
absolutely.
know
Yeah,
when
definitely.
they think that it's something serious and something they need
Correct,
to
correct, right,
commit to.
right.
So on that note, yeah, it was a great conversation with you. I am this
Yeah, we have two
thing
minutes
that
more. So I'm going to thank you, firstly, Simple, for doing this. I think whatever you're doing is amazing, and I'm very happy to hear that you're putting in steps to make it even better for people who follow you. Um, I'll leave with only one thought, and I've said this to all the people I've talked to and done workshops for, free, otherwise. Joy of writing is most important. Most important.
absolutely,
मैं
Absolutely.
अभी भी ना बच्चे की तरह मैं टिकल होता है मॉर्निंग में when I get up. I say यार even if it's going to be a bad day, no, I'm going to find some bloody joy out of this day.
That's
Just
true.
stay in that zone as much as you can. I'm not saying that you have to force it. Organically, if you can get into that zone and just be a little happier with yourself, be a little kinder and gentler on people around you, people on yourself, so yourself rather, just chill. Universe will take care of it.
That's lovely. That's a lovely note to end this conversation,
वो
Shanti.
शाहरुख खान
Thank
की
you.
तरह हाथ ऐसे करके बोलना पड़ेगा
So,
सारी कायनात है but
सारी
it's true
कायनात तुम्हें. Yes,
but
yeah.
it's
You
true
have to
then.
be the kainat. You know, you
you
start that kainat. I
you
think
can't
that's
take
that's
you can't take care of the whole world. Yeah, first just take care of
yes.
what's on your shoulders. This
Absolutely,
thing, rest
absolutely.
everything
That's
will
so
take care of
true.
itself. Cool, so
That
thank you
is
so
so
much,
true.
thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Shanti. It was
Looking
lovely
forward to
talking to
this.
you.
We should do this
Yes,
often.
I
We should do this often.
yeah, we should do this often. We should get like more fun. We will do one more. Just chat with Jonam, just
Yes,
because
yes,
I
yes.
just want to like
A
see how
lot of people
irritated
have
he is.
asked. A lot of people, where is the 6 month update of Journam symbol? So I said, okay, ठीक
Yeah,
है यार,
yes,
करते हैं,
yes.
करते हैं.
Karte hain, and I think let's get Jonam also back. I love to see how irritated he is these days, and you know, he
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. It'll be
gets
fun.
when he
It'll
talks
be
with
fun.
that. So
Cool.
let's do that. Okay, bye bye. Thank
Thank
you,
you. Thank you.
Shanti.
Have a lovely day ahead and catch you soon.
You
Soon.
too. Bye bye.
Thanks. And nice post today. I loved it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.